The Denver Nuggets are back to their winning ways, defeating the Kings just 2 nights ago. Now they're looking to string together 2 wins on the road at Oklahoma City tonight.
Yep, they've got NBA action. Plus, thanks to the Jacksonville Jaguars this afternoon, the AFC playoff picture all comes down to tonight. I've got picks for you on Chargers Raiders.
We have great bets across all sports to get to, and our goal is to help you decide which bets are worth throwing your money at. It is You Bet Tonight, and it starts right now. It is time for You Bet Tonight, presented by BetMGM. The Denver Nuggets are back on the road following a 10-point win over the Sacramento Kings Friday night at Ball Arena. Nikola Jokic led the way with 30 points in that one, but tonight it's a Western Conference matchup between Denver and Oklahoma City. Welcome into You Bet Tonight. I am Rachel Richlinski alongside Nate Lundy, who should at least be relieved at this point because the Broncos season is over. They fired their head coach. There's a sense of relief until next season, right?
Well, there's a little bit of relief, but we also now have to recognize that we go through this offseason where we've got ownership questions, we've got coaching questions, we've got quarterback questions. All we did was add more questions to it, but at least the 2021 season is over and we've got something to look forward to.
It's over. We can move past it, and from one NHL headline to the other, let's get to our headline bets of the night presented by BetMGM, and we are starting with Sunday Night Football. 2 teams with identical records. What's happening, Nate?
Yeah, this is a wild game tonight because thanks to the Jacksonville Jaguars this afternoon, as I mentioned off the top of the show, with them managing to beat the Indianapolis Colts again in Jacksonville. They threw the AFC playoff picture into complete chaos. The Steelers managed to win in overtime. So it really comes down to tonight between the Chargers and the Raiders. They'll be playing inside the giant Roomba in Las Vegas. Seriously, that's what the stadium looks like. Let's talk about this one, though. Chargers favored by 3. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's going to lead this team to a victory by a touchdown. And because of that, we will see L.A. get into the playoffs. We know that L.A. is 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 games that these two teams have played in terms of on the road. So whether we were talking about Oakland or now talking about Vegas, the Chargers have done well against the spread on the road against this Raiders team. And I just think Vegas is still a little bit too up and down for me, particularly on the defensive side. And I think the Chargers can take advantage of that. So let's take LA to get the win, and that will put them in the playoffs.
And what about the over-under for these AFC West?
Yeah, this one's going to be kind of fun because I do, as I said, I have a little bit of trust issues when it comes to the Vegas defense, but because of that, we're going to take the over, which right now sits at 49. I've also seen at BetMGM it dip down just a little bit as we look at the live line, down to about 48.5, but it's right in that range. I'm going to play the over with this one, especially if it's ticking down here prior to the start of the game. Now, remember, both of these teams have everything to play for. Win and you're in. They control their own destiny, and that's why the NFL put this game on Sunday night, because it will decide which one of them makes it into the playoffs. The Chargers have been over in 5 straight games, so let's follow that trend as well, but both of these teams with a lot to play for. I think it's going to light up the scoreboard.
A ton to play for. Now, the Raiders scored 23 points in their last game. They had just 17 points against the Broncos the week before, but the Chargers have been exploding offensively, so I like the over here as well. The Chargers had 63 points in their last 2 games, so take the over.
Absolutely, scoring and scoring and scoring. And we've seen a lot of that, by the way, in the NHL as well. Let me get to some picks here on the ice for you. Let's talk about the Red Wings taking on the Anaheim Ducks. They'll be playing that one in Southern California. Anaheim a slight favorite in this one, and we're going to lean there on the money line. Now, both of these teams are on the second night of a back-to-back. Both of them lost their contest last night, but I'm going to lean towards Anaheim in part because I think that home ice is going to play into it when you've got both of these teams coming off of a back-to-back and both of them coming off of losses. So, a lot of times I try to stay away from teams when you're on the back-to-backs, but the fact that we've got both teams coming off of the back-to-back, I'm going to lean towards Anaheim at home.
Quack, quack, quack. I've been looking forward to that all day. Mighty Ducks, anyone? No? Okay, yeah, anyway, needless to say, I like the Ducks in this one as well. You mentioned they're both coming off those back-to-backs, but the Red Wings, couldn't put up a single goal last night. So, it was
pretty ugly for Detroit. Like I said, we'll lean towards the Ducks, and great reference. I'll give you that one. Great reference on it. All right, let's talk some NBA hardwood here. Timberwolves taking on the Rockets. Minnesota traveling to Houston for this one, and Minnesota a favorite by 6.5. Take them. Right now, I think that Minnesota should be able to handle Houston, even though this is a road game. Houston only 5-9 against the spread when they are a home underdog, whereas Minnesota has only been a road favorite 3 times over the course of this season. They have had a down season as well, but not as down as Houston. So we're going to roll with the T-Wolves in this one. We will give up the 6.5 points. I also kind of like the under in this contest. I think that 233.5 is a little bit high, but my favorite bet in this particular contest is to go ahead and lay the points with Minnesota.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. I think this is an easy-peasy, lemon-squeezy bet to take. Minnesota, the Timberwolves are back at full strength. They're performing at a high level. It's basically a no-brainer.
Yeah, and again, Houston just has not been good this season. So let's fade against the Rockets. Let's go with the T-Wolves on the road.
Yeah, I like it. Well,
nice and easy.
Yeah, and guys, it is Sunday, so you have to know we are going to talk some Sunday night football bets when we return. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We're talking player props for the Chargers and Raiders when we come back. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. So the final Sunday night football matchup of the regular season is tonight, featuring the Chargers and the Raiders. Yep. Both teams have a ton to play for. They're fighting for that playoff spot. And what's really interesting is, hey, they could end this one in the tie. They could just decide off the field, theoretically. I don't think it's going to happen. They could just shake hands and say, hey, let's just kneel until it's all over so we can both make it to the playoffs. You see, this is why I'm not in charge of making those types of decisions, because that's what I would do.
But it's pretty wild, the fact that if this game ends in a tie, both teams would make the playoffs. So they actually could have a gentleman's agreement, right? Just go out there and kneel, about 100 times to get yourself through 40-second play clock, 60 minutes of regular time, plus 10 minutes of overtime. So just sit there and just take a knee over and over and over again, and they would both make the playoffs, and the Steelers would be out. But
just, put some knee pads on, and you don't even have to do laundry after a game like that. Like, that'd be wonderful. I love it.
Same 11 guys, just nonstop. All right, but that is not going to happen, obviously. So let's go ahead and get into some of the player props that we've got for this contest tonight. I'm really excited about this one because these teams have something to play for, and it's going to make the player props a little bit more interesting for tonight's game because, as you know, as we were going through the afternoon games here throughout this Sunday, we had some games that were meaningless. We didn't know who was going to play for how long, who was going to be out on the field, or are they only going to play a quarter, are they going to play a half, are they not going to play at all? Well, in this contest, obviously, these two teams have something to play for, so we are going to see some really good player prop opportunities. Let's start with a couple of receivers for the Raiders, and we'll start with Hunter Renfrow. His over-under on his longest reception is 21.5 yards, and we are going to take the under on that one. He's only gone over this once in the last 4 games, but most importantly, his ADOT, his average depth of target, is only 6.7 yards. The only way he gets to this is if he gets the yards after the catch, which he is capable of doing. However, we know we've got a good secondary with the Chargers, and I think that they will keep him in check. So I'm expecting a lot of catches for Hunter Renfrow, but I don't think he gets up above the 21.5 when we're talking about his longest reception. Now, his tag team partner that he's got there, lining up from the receiver standpoint, Zay Jones, let's talk about his receiving yards over at 46.5. I feel confident that he is going to see a number of targets because, in fact, he's seen 46 targets over the course of the last 6 games, so he has become a popular weapon for them in this offense, and he's been over in 3 straight games. So 46.5, not enough for me. I think that Zay Jones winds up finishing somewhere in the low to mid 50s by the time this game is done, so good solid player prop for him on his receiving yards.
And I know we're taking the under for Renfrow, the over for Jones, but how about this? The duo combined for nearly 200 receiving yards and 15 catches last week against the Colts. So I like them together. I like the way they're playing together.
I do too. I mean, as I said, I'm on the Chargers for this game tonight, but these two guys have turned into really solid weapons for Carr, and I think that they're going to continue to get the catches. The question is, how much depth is he going to wind up having with Hunter Renfrow? So I'll take the under with him on his longest catch. But we talked about the Raiders. Let's slide over to the Chargers now, and let's talk about Austin Eckler. His over-under 91.5 on his total yards, so rushing plus receiving. And I'm going to take the over in this one. Again, this is one that because these teams have something to play for, I think that you're going to see them, obviously they're going to bring out all the tricks that they've got in the playbook because they want to be able to continue their season into next weekend with the wild card weekend. So I fully expect Austin Eckler, who is already a big part of this offense, to be a focal point for the Chargers tonight in Las Vegas. So we're going to combine those two totals together. We're going to go over on the 91.5. He's been over in 4 out of his last 6 games that he has played, and obviously in the first meeting against Vegas, he had a big-time finish with 145 combined yards. Now Joshua Palmer. So we'll talk receiver here for the Chargers. This is a guy that has just gradually seen his production continue to climb and climb for this squad, and I think that he has become a new favorite target for Justin Herbert. So only 1.5 receptions. That's the over-under. Yes, I think he can get 2 catches. Again, he's not a massive part of this offense. He's not Austin Eckler. He's not Keenan Allen, but he is just enough a part of it that this seems like too low of a number. It's part of the reason why you see it juiced up to the minus 140 the way that it is. He's averaged 25.5 routes run over the course of the last 4 games. So he is out there on the field. I think Justin Herbert's going to be looking for him. And
I think Palmer has a great opportunity ahead of him. He's had it all season long, like we've seen across many sports with COVID. Guys go out with COVID. It gives rookies an opportunity, rookies and other young players, to step up and to get the snaps, to get those opportunities that they need. And Palmer has fully taken advantage of that. So, yeah, I think he can go with 2 tonight. I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of, is there a gap to fill? Is there a gap to fill, Nate?
I think there is. I absolutely think there is. And I've been talking about Austin Eckler. I talked about his overall rushing and receiving yards, by the way, in combining it. Stick around. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, I've got a same-game parlay for you tonight for the Sunday night football game, and it is all about Austin Eckler. So I'll share that with you coming up here in just a little bit.
Does that have anything to do with the fact that he's a Colorado guy, or is that just fun? I love it. I love it. I'm so excited to get to that one.
I like it. I like focusing in on the guys that you've got rooting interest for. And like I said, I think the way this game is going to go tonight, he's going to be a fun same-game parlay. I'll share that with you here in just a few minutes.
Excited to see that one play out. Hey, and an undrafted guy from Colorado playing in the NFL. Love it. But stay with us because we're talking NBA and Nuggets. They're at OKC tonight. You're watching You Bet Tonight on Altitude. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. Well, the Denver Nuggets are back to their winning ways following a win at home Friday. But hey, they are on the road now at Oklahoma City tonight. Nikola Jokic had 30 points Friday night at Ball Arena, hoping he can do the same. I don't know. What do you feel? I have weird mixed feelings about this game.
Yeah, I really do too, and it's made it a little bit difficult to predict. We went through a stretch there for a while with the Nuggets where when we went for our player props, we went for the over-unders, the spreads. We had a pretty good feel, but this team, whether it's because of the changes that they've had with the lineups, the health and safety protocols, all the things that have been back and forth, this team's been a little bit unpredictable, and it has made it, Rachel, difficult to, kind of zone in on which bets you do and don't want to make with this team. But as we talked about when we first launched You Bet Tonight, it was part of what we wanted to be able to do was to be able to bet on the teams that we're rooting for. Talk about the Nuggets, talk about the Avalanche, talk about CU and CSU and the teams that we follow. And so we I'm trying to dig up little nuggets here and there, pardon the pun, from a betting standpoint with this team. But it has been difficult, especially when they've gone on the road.
And you said you're digging for those nuggets, trying to find something to help people decide where to put their money tonight. So what did you find ahead of this Denver Nuggets-Oklahoma City matchup?
Yep, we're on the road, obviously, against OKC. Denver favored by 6.5 with this one, which feels about right. But I'll tell you this, I have had a really hard time trusting this team against the spread over the course of the last few weeks. And in fact, Denver has only covered against the spread in 4 out of their last 10 games. So I'm staying away from the spread on this one simply because I think Denver can do this. But I've also thought that a couple of times over the course of the last few weeks, and they've let me down. So let's focus in on the total instead. We're going to go under on the 214.5. half, in part because I'm not trusting on the spread, but also going back and looking at the last meeting, between these two teams back on December 22nd. They only totaled 202 points, so a good dozen below this number. I do think they will surpass that 202 that they did in the last matchup between these two teams, but I think 214.5 is too aggressive. We're going to take the under on this one. Again, I just feel like I've got to stay away from the spread as much as I want to roll with it with Denver because I think they can win. If you wanted to go with Denver on the money line, obviously huge favorites here at the minus 275, but try to find another game tonight, maybe one of the ones that we talk about here in this segment, to be able to parlay together to get that juice to something that makes it worth it.
So we can go with the under, but I really think we need to discuss your trust issues that you have with the Denver Nuggets as far as the spread goes.
I can't help it
There's
right
some
now.
stuff there. I mean, I can hook you up with a counselor. We can get through this, Nate, okay?
I just need to sit down with like Vic and Bill and with Chris and Scotty and just rely. Maybe I just need to sit on the couch with them and have them give me some positive vibes.
We can fan you, feed you grapes,
and then we can turn. Well, now we're going way too far. Now that's not a visual that anybody needs. No, I need to find some trust.
No, I get it.
Right now, and I just don't have it, which is why I'm going to look at the total because I do think this will be a low-scoring affair, a little more defense.
And just to add to the under 6-1 in Nuggets last 7 after allowing 100 points. 100 points or more in their previous game. They did give up 111 points at Ball Arena Friday night. Even though they won, they still gave up the 111 points. So that's just a fun trend to get you moving towards the over-under on that one as well. How about a player prop?
Let's do it. Let's go to the other roster, though. Let's talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And this one, 2.5 turnovers. I've been trying to find some different player props to be able to share with you guys here on the program. And so we're going after turnovers with this one. 2.5. I think he has at least 3 turnovers in this game. He's had 4 turnovers, actually, in 3 straight games. I just talked about the fact that I expect this to be a defensive type of battle. If that takes place, Denver plays some smart defense. They can force Gilgeous-Alexander into some turnovers. So we're going to take the over in this one. He only had 1 turnover in the first meeting between these two teams, but again, I think this game is going to flip. I think we're going to see more defense out of Denver, and I think they're going to force him into making some mistakes. 2.5 seeming relatively low. All we're looking for is some smart defense, especially on the perimeter, especially there in the 12 to 15 foot range. Force him into some mistakes, take the ball away, and we cash this ticket.
And now is a time where I disagree with Nate because he had a stunning performance the last time these two teams met. I don't think, just because it's only 2.5 turnovers, I don't think that, Denver defense can just all of a sudden make somebody turn over the ball. But you know what? At some point you got to stop. Right?
Well,
so 3 straight games.
Not tonight.
Third time's a charm for bad charms, I guess.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about the defense for Denver tonight. I'll probably be proven wrong. Just not enough coffee today. But I think he's going to turn the ball. I think Denver's going to play some smart defense on him. Because they know they got to slow him down. He is the straw that stirs the drink for the Thunder.
Well, at least we know that you have trust in Denver's defense.
There we go.
Anything else. All right.
Something I've got to trust with this team. Somehow I need to do it.
How about some other NBA bets to get?
Let's get to it. Dallas hosting the Chicago Bulls tonight as the Bulls will travel to Big D's. Chicago favored by 2.5. Take the Bulls. I really think this team continues to perform well. 4-0-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings that they have had with Dallas. They continue to play really strong against the Mavs. Yes, I know the Mavs are at home, but again, with the way that Chicago has been playing and the fact that Dallas has been struggling at home when they have played good teams, they have been dealing with injuries. They have been dealing with players in and out of the lineup as well, and I think Chicago will take advantage of it. Lay the points with the Bulls in this one. Moving on, though, going to the West Coast where the Warriors will be hosting the Cavaliers. Cleveland's loss of Ricky Rubio is massive. As good as Cleveland was, they were a winning bet against the spread for a lot of us over the course of the beginning of the season. But the loss of Rubio really is a big deal for this Cavs team, and I think it's going to continue to show. So as much as they were a darling of the betting world to start things off from an NBA standpoint, I don't think Cleveland is there anymore. Give me Golden State at home, giving up the 7.5. Remember, this is the return of Klay Thompson. The Splash Brothers are reunited. Klay will finally be back out on the court again for Golden State.
Exactly. Now, the Warriors have only had 9 losses the entire season. They've lost their last 2 games. So looking at this from that standpoint, I'm a little iffy on them covering the spread, but the fact that Klay Thompson is returning gives me so much hope and motivation, and I'd agree with that.
Golden State is going to ride that wave of emotion of having him back on the court. You know the crowd's going to be behind it. This is a big deal game tonight for them. Let's talk Memphis and the Lakers. The Grizz and the Lakers to wrap things up here with our NBA segment. Lakers Lakers laying 3.5 in this one. I'll go ahead and roll with that because of how the Lakers have been playing of late. Their offense has come alive. Memphis is only 3-3 when they're on the second night of a back-to-back, and that is where they sit right now. Memphis also only 3-7 in the last 10 meetings they have had with the Lakers in L.A. So all of this is pointing towards an L.A. victory, and I fully expect that to take place. Again, the Lakers minus 3.5, and if that's going to happen, this guy's going to have a big game. My player prop for this contest, it is LeBron James. By the way, first appearance by LeBron, I think, on You Bet Tonight for a player prop. He has been absolutely unstoppable offensively over the course of the last several games. So his point total is at 30.5. Take it. I think he's going to be up in the low to mid 30s by the time this game is done. He's been over in 9 out of his last 10 games, and back on the 29th of December scored 37 against this Grizzlies team. So we know LeBron is more than capable of dropping the points against Memphis.
How is this the first time we're mentioning LeBron James?
Yes, you would think that he would have shown up before, but again, a little bit up and down with the Lakers. But right now he is on such a heater of a performance and how he's been scoring. I think this is one that we need to jump on while we can until he cools off.
Fair enough. Love it. Well, we have some more Sunday night football action to talk about when we come back, and we're going to focus on a Colorado native who is playing tonight for some Sunday night football. Stay with us. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. So we talked about Chargers running back Austin Eckler earlier in the show, and I just want to reiterate that he is a Colorado native, and now I'm like fangirling over Austin Eckler just because I want him to perform so well tonight for Sunday Night Football. So how about same game parlay bet featuring Mr.
Let's
Eckler?
do it. So this is an example. We talked about this earlier in the week, and trying to build these same game parlays where you're not trying to knock it out of the park. You're not trying to do 6, 7, 8 legs within the same game parlay because, yes, cashing one of those is nice, but putting yourself in a position where you've got a much better shot of cashing the ticket, even if it's at a smaller payday, I think is worth it when we do these same games, whether we're talking about the NHL, the NBA, or in this case, the NFL. So as we look at Sunday Night Football tonight with Austin Eckler, this same game parlay is built entirely around him and his performance. So I told you that I think his combined yardage will be over the 91.5 player prop that he has for his rushing plus his receiving. So in this particular case, we're going to take him to get at least 40 yards rushing. Should be relatively easy for him. Receiving, we're going to go 20 or more. And again, this is a number that he consistently hits. He's utilized out of the backfield in this Chargers offense pretty consistently. And then add in an anytime touchdown for Eckler. You put all three of those together, all built around him, and we set ourselves up at a plus 145 with our friends at BetMGM. So again, very achievable numbers for him. Obviously, the dice roll to a certain extent is that anytime touchdown. I think he can hit both of the yardage props. But you put all those together, simple payday. Don't try to get too fancy with it. Just make it a nice, easy parlay that you can do and cash it at plus 140.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely happen. He's a rising star. He's very capable of making it happen. So,
and again, a lot to play for tonight. I know I sound like a broken record, but these teams have something to play for, which means their offense is going to be on display.
And speaking of what they have to play for, that brings us to a little ICYMI, so we can recap everything for Sunday Night Football and the bets that you want to put your money on.
That's right. My 5 favorite from the show tonight for you. Let's start off with that Sunday Night Football game. I think the Chargers get it done. I think I'm going to go ahead and lay the 3.5 points with the Chargers on the road against Las Vegas. I think this is going to be a highly entertaining game, but I expect Justin Herbert and the Chargers to come out on top. Zay Jones, let's go over on his receiving yards prop. That's at 46.5. Josh Palmer to have more than 1.5 receptions, so 2 or more over the course of the contest, and fully expect that. Take the Nuggets and Thunder. We're going to go under on the 214.5. Remember, they only combined for 202 in their last meeting in December, and we're going to take the Anaheim Ducks on the money line against the Red Wings.
Love it. And remember that the Chargers and Vegas, all they have to do is tie for them to both make the playoffs. So if you want to just kneel the ball, please just do it. Denver Nuggets taking on Oklahoma City tonight. Thank you for watching You Bet Tonight. We'll see you next time.